Nate KG podcast, a show dedicated to exploring the nuances of jump rope, where I talk with jumpers of all skill levels, backgrounds, and fitness goals. Today, my guest on the podcast is Bav, and he is back for round 2. We previously did an impromptu live session on Instagram that I posted here because it was that good. It's episode 63 if you want to check it out. In this episode, we start off by jumping into the deep end of a discussion about how to use social media effectively and why burnout tends to happen for people focused on creating a lot of content. We chat about a lot more topics too, including how to reframe misses, how engineering, programming, and jump rope are pretty similar, building confidence by jumping rope, and a bunch more. All the show notes for this episode can be found over at natekg.com. And now, please enjoy this round 2 conversation with Bav. Bav, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my man?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm pumped to do this. We did a random live, I think a week ago or something, and it was like, or at least a week ago from this record date, and it was super good. And then afterwards, I was like, dude, we should do a legitimate podcast, because that basically was a podcast, and you were like, yeah, and here we are.
Yeah, I think I may have forced my way onto the podcast. I think that's what happened.
I don't think it's forced. I think we just randomly connected, and you just delivered so hard with some great information that I was like, it's just it just needs to happen now. It's serendipity.
Yeah, it was because it was weird, because I just saw, like, I had my phone on me. I was like, oh, Nate's gone live. I'll just pop on. What could possibly happen?
Right. And what happens is a phenomenal conversation for like 2 or 3 hours, whatever it was.
It was so good. It was so good. And I think a lot of people got a lot of value from it. I got a lot of comments afterwards. People were enjoying it. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's start with because I have zero plans for this based on our last conversation, because of how random and great it was. I didn't want to plan anything for this. I have loads of things I want to ask you, but let's start with, we literally talked for like 2 seconds before this, and then I was asking you how things are going, and you said something about being a creative rep, and I was like, hold that thought. Let's get all that like for the first time on the podcast, because I really want to get into that, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways we could go through that depending on what you're going to say. So let's figure out why Bav's in a creative rut right now.
Yeah, well, I was. I think that's gone now, which is really nice. So the last
was it gone? Is it gone because it was happening before the podcast and you heard my voice and you're like, I'm good now, or is it something else?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. That's exactly as you described.
Heck yeah.
Is that cool? You can Venmo me that. You can Venmo me later.
Nice. No, what's the deal with that? What's going on with the creative rut?
I think what happened is I was spreading myself far too thin. So I was doing obviously posting Instagram posts every day. So working on combos daily. And then I was also on top of that doing the YouTube daily vlog. And I think after a little while, because at the beginning you've got adrenaline and stuff, so that's kind of carrying you forward. And after a while, you're like, I don't actually remember the last week, like of content. I don't remember it, because you're in that kind of motion of creating, and you're like, then you look back and think, oh no, that's not up to my standards. That's not good.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, you just almost it got into the stage of just being a process, and then it wasn't. Then the fun quickly got stripped away, which is funny, because it's exactly what advice I gave to others in a video of mine describing content creation. So, but the difference is now is I've decided to basically take the pressure off and just concentrate on
having fun.
Content having fun and creating content that I'm proud of, and doesn't matter what time, like if it goes out in a timely manner.
Yeah, you gotta have fun making it. And this is let's just kind of, just to follow the standard we've set for ourselves, let's go down a random tangent here for a little while. I don't know how long this is gonna last. We'll definitely get back to jump rope at some point, get back on track, but I kind of want to dig into this, because this is a fun topic that I have a lot of thoughts on, and I don't really speak about much publicly. And I feel like this is kind of cool, because you're hitting on something that's really, really important, which is like you have, from what I can understand from knowing you and from the conversations we've had, you have this mission to put out and share as much information or as much videos as you can to the jump rope world, whether that's sharing tips and things that you've learned, whether that's just having fun and sharing the vibes of what it's like to be a jumper, especially during lockdown or quarantine, or just in general, being a visual piece of the community. But when it comes to the actual execution of that, I think people tend to not know a lot of the back end of this, and as somebody who, puts out a lot of, I think a decent amount of stuff as well. I understand very well what the requirements are to make these kinds of things happen, and it can lead to the lack of creativity and the lack of fun and a little bit of a burnout, because it's like, all right, I did something every single day. What should I do next? And you're right. You have to have fun. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you just don't have you don't have time to be creative because you're constantly like thinking
On
of
a
an idea for a
schedule.
video, and then on a schedule. And sometimes creativity doesn't have a schedule, so you need to be immersing yourself in the environment that you draw creativity from. Otherwise, your creation or creativity just dries out, and you'll carry forwards what you've kind of got in your creative bank, as we'll call it. But then once that overdraft of creativity is gone and you haven't been feeding it, then it's gone, and then you're just like, I should have been topping this up.
No, for sure. And I feel like, to be honest with you, you hit on something. Being in the environment that gives you the creativity. I think a lot of times what happens with me a lot is like I'll be so focused on getting things done that I won't spend as much time talking to other jumpers, or like obviously responding to DMs. That happens, but like I won't do them as much, or I just won't be as involved. But that's the place where I get all of my ideas. That's the place where having a conversation with someone like you, or like just someone in DM, they might say one thing. I'm like, oh, there's an idea. I think I got that. Like, I could kind of do something similar to this, right? And I think you're totally right that, man, it it takes a lot of effort, man. It takes a lot of effort, because it's not just, doing the video and doing the jumping. It's like you said, there's got to be a point to your video. And I think this is a very subtle thing that a lot of people may not realize, is like, there's a point to it. Even if it's as simple as like, I got this skill. Like Instagram usually is like, I got this skill, or I was working on this skill, or I'm messing up this skill, right? It's usually one of those three things. When you're doing like a vlog or like something on YouTube, there's got to be some kind of a point to which people know, like, this is what I'm watching. And
Yeah, it's got to have value for the person, even if it's a vlog following you around, and they've got to have like some kind of narrative. But the
right.
funny thing is, like, so it kind of kicked off with a live a couple of weeks ago, and then obviously with the live that I joined of yours, and then like yesterday I did a live, and then Mr. Jump Rope Coach Chris joined in.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's what I'm getting at being creative. So I had a schedule for doing a video that I was actually filming a video at the time, but it's like, right, I can either go down the strict rules that I've got for creating this video that's going to be out for tomorrow at 3:00, or there's a fantastic opportunity here to just freeball it and just see what happens. And that's kind of what happened. That's what I'm trying to allocate more time to, because that's where you get the narrative from. That's where you get, because if I believe in what I'm trying to convey to others, it's easier for them to, go along with it, or kind of buy into that storyline, as it were.
I think a big piece of this too, like, I hear so many people talk about, I need to post by this day, or I need to be on this schedule, or I need to do this much. And my biggest question is like, why? What are you doing that actually requires that? And I don't mean that like as you don't need to, but like, we need to actually define why that requirement is there. If it's a personal goal of yours and you just want to challenge yourself, great, right? But typically what I see happen is people who are just recreationally using Instagram for fun and just hanging out, right? Or YouTube just to hang out or share something. All of a sudden there's this pressure to post a certain time of day or certain frequency throughout the week or whatever. But for what? Like, you're just sharing with your friends. Like, why are you adding that pressure when you don't need to? Like, to me, it's like, if you're part of it might be discipline, right? There's definitely these elements of like certain people, it helps them stay accountable, and Instagram is it can be used as an interesting, social accountability tool, right? Which I think is phenomenal if you're being clearly defined about that. But a lot of times there's so much a lot of the marketing discussion is blended with the public discussion of what Instagram is, right? Marketers use Instagram and social media tools very, very differently. They're using it specifically to achieve a mission goal or a business goal, right? And when that is your focus, it changes kind of the things that you need to do in order to be effective. Because when you understand that the way, like, and this is getting super deep, but when you really understand marketing, when you really understand what this is, marketing is funny because the simpler it sounds, the better you're doing as a marketer, but then people don't necessarily think that you're like sophisticated because it sounds too simple. It's like, yeah, of course, duh, right? But like the thing with those goals, right? And like the big thing about marketing and using these tools is you need to put out certain messages or certain things very frequently for people to understand, because when you're trying to reach X amount of folks, right? Not as many as possible, but when you're trying to reach an exact number of people that you have predefined, right? For a specific reason, it always goes back to the goal. There's in marketing, when you're trying to achieve a mission goal or a long-lasting business goal, you have to repeatedly say things ideally in different ways that are still interesting to listen to, right? So people don't get bored, but like you have to continually repeat things so that people know what you're up to. They know what you're about. They know what's going on. It's the consistency over time that works, right? People can bullshit that, right? Like people can fake it, and we see it happen all the time. But it's important to know that this requirement of like, I need to do something every single day, or I need to do this, that, or the other. It's like where you have to ask where it's coming from, because it's very easy to set restrictions or rules for yourself that ultimately end up making you have just a worse time, right? And I think, several years ago, when Casey Neistat vlogged every single day for like whatever it was, like 800 days straight, right? That's incredible. That's insane. And he did that, I think, just to do it, because he wanted to challenge himself, do something very tough. He's got his own way of approaching projects when they're fun for him, right? That was a fun project for him. But as someone who did 70 days, I did 70 days of vlogging for myself, just personal vlogs, just to test it out and see what it felt like. It was a cool thing to do, but it was like, why? Like towards the end, it's like, why am I doing this? And because there wasn't a mission, right? It was just me testing out, and I was like, oh well, there's no reason to do every single day. I feel like this is very close to what our last conversation was.
Yeah, well, I think
there.
the thing with Casey Neistat doing vlogs every day, it was, if you've got stuff to do every day, and if you're doing interesting stuff, it is a lot easier. So, for example,
That's true.
when I was doing like skill breakdowns or like learn alongs on my channel, it was actually very easy to do it daily if my body couldn't handle it. But I had content every single day. But as you don't have any rest days, you're constantly, your mind and your body is getting drained. So the content creation, that side of it is there, but I just don't have the stamina to keep up with it. Whereas if you're doing like daily videos where you're basically just walking around, or you're not doing something physically, like exerting yourself, it's a different story. But what you say about posting daily, every 2 days or every particular day, I don't actually know where that comes from. I think it comes from like the olden days of TV, right? So your audience needs to know when you're going to be posting. But actually, what I've realized is no one actually cares.
No, and that's exactly
they get
what
notifications.
100%. 100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. That where I think the modern posting schedule comes from is from marketers. Marketers say, in order to get your stuff seen, in order to, well, there's two sides of it. There's the more correct way of like having a mission and trying to help people, and there's the salesy side of like, I just want to make a sale. I don't really care, right? I just want to get in front of you. The point is to show up a lot so that you're saying the thing that you want to be heard over and over and over, because when you really understand marketing, when you really understand digital communication, you understand that you're not reaching everyone, but you need to be consistent in order to get those messages not only heard for the first time, but continuously heard, so people understand you and what you're about. But that's not relevant to non-businesses, aka it's not as relevant to just general people who are having fun and jumping with each other. What is the mission you're trying to get? And now this is different people who want to be influencers, right? This is different than people who like, and a lot of people take advantage of this too. Like they say, they just say the right thing that needs to be said, and it's very easy to game that, right? And then they follow the schedule of doing like that's. Though they're not necessarily selling something, I tend to lump that in the same category as like selling they want attention, right? For whatever that purpose is, having influencer deals, having this, that, or the other, right? But it's like, if you're a user, this is why social media literacy is so important to me. It's like, dude, if you're a general jumper who's just having fun and you're enjoying the community, then you should craft this digital space to be what you want and use it the way you think it needs to be used. Right? Like if you don't want to follow someone, if you're sick of seeing certain things, then don't follow it or block it, or follow other things so the algorithm starts to learn what you like,
Yeah. It's also like how you like look at things. Like I think personally, I never used to plan anything that I filmed. So I would literally film something in the morning or in the day, and I'd go back, just chop it up, put some music to it, and then post it. Literally, I had no, and I think it changed when I got one of my videos shared by Gymshark, and I think that's when it kind of changed into being, maybe I should plan
Oh my
plan
God.
what I'm doing now.
I'm so glad you said that, dude. Because here's my, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Here's my thoughts on why that happened. The second you got a lot of people, you got into lots of people syndrome, is what I'm going to call it, which is like, you think there's so many eyes on you, so you're doing what you think people want. And that term people is the danger zone, because the second you do something for everyone, you do it for literally nobody. And I know you understand that, because it's very different to create a video thinking Chris and Davina and whatever, Nate, or these people are going to watch it, right? Alicia's going to watch it, Susan's going to watch it. That's a way different mindset than, well, what do people want to see? Because now you're not thinking about it as you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I went through that before, because on my YouTube channel, because I've had my YouTube channel for a while and done different things. I definitely had that then, so that when no one was watching, it's great because I've just got complete creative license. I'm not making it for anyone. I'm just making it for me. And I suppose, actually, I guess you are right in a way. So yeah, you kind of like, oh, that worked, so I need to try and. I wouldn't say I was trying to replicate it, but I was just like.
You wanted to stay on the same vein of things that were popular.
Yeah, but still like kind of going about my own thing. And then it was, just a little bit, just a bit like not confusing, but it got less fun, and it started becoming a bit more like, oh, I should post.
It's the
Because up
shoulds.
until then, I was just,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, yeah, and don't get me wrong, it was fun, and I was really enjoying, especially over lockdown. It was great leveling up and learning new skills daily
and documenting it.
Yeah, exactly. And then also because I do it to music, you start getting people requesting songs and doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, you just feel like oh, haven't done drum and bass for a little while. I probably should do some more drum and bass, or I haven't done reggae for a couple of weeks, because you're trying to, again. Actually, you're exactly right. So that's where the every person kind of stuff came in. It was more to do with the music, and then obviously I do a different jump style to different styles of music and stuff. So.
No, this is cool. I dig it, because this is I think a really fun conversation, because like you've got two sides of this. You've got one side which is trying to maintain relevance through likes and views, right? And follows. And then there's the other side, which is cultural, which is like you're having conversations with people and like, oh, dude, you should do this. And you're like, yeah, that sounds cool. And like you're getting the feedback and things are moving and shaking because you're in it, having real conversations and making relationships with people. And so I would imagine this is why it doesn't seem as split, or like why it seems kind of weird. It's like, oh, I'm kind of not as motivated, but then I kind of am, but then I like it, but then I kind of don't. Because I feel like, because I feel like on one hand, you're in it, you're talking to people and you're doing things based on truly the conversations you're having, which means culture, right? But then on the other side, you're trying to then optimize it for the views, which in my own stuff that I do, it's, again, understanding that there's different goals for each person. But for me, like a lot of my goals, like I have a very like I have a very large mission goal for the things that I do, right? And so I understand that when you have a large mission, having more numbers is actually useful at that point. There is an actual use to having more numbers, but not just numbers for the sake of numbers, but like actually having people paying attention, right? Because then you're able to give information, give good stuff to them. So the numbers make sense. So then the question is, cool, why, like, how do I get numbers, but then also have fun and do good things and not just be like kind of like that, sellout thing? And what I've
Yeah,
realized is
how can
like,
I?
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, how can I have the numbers without the pressure that comes with the numbers?
No, 100%. Like, dude, to be honest with you, I really do feel like I've kind of figured this one out, because you have to eliminate the shoulds and start figuring out the wants. And you got to be like, at least for me, it's being extraordinarily straightforward with myself. Like, all right, I want to grow, or I don't want to grow. And I want to do this kind of information, and I don't want to do this kind of thing. I don't want to do that kind of thing. Where's the middle ground that fits me, right? So for my, at least right now where I'm currently at, the way kind of I approach things, the way I approach things is like, right, at least right now, is a lot of what I do, I truly do not care if there is low views and low likes, because I know that it's hitting at least like 1 to 5 people and it's helping them. And that is my measurement. I do not care about the vanity metrics for like 75% of the stuff that I put out, which is why if you go to my page, you'll see a lot of it's not optimized, and the likes per following seems very low. And I'm also a male, so I already have a lot less, numbers than somebody who's a female.
A pecking order.
Right. No, exactly. And so what you do, you just back it up. What makes something trending or popular, right? If you pay attention, there's several things that always work and several things that are unique to the jump rope community that work. Obviously.
Yeah, and this is where I've kind of had not an epiphany. It's like, I actually don't want to do those kind of things. Like, I don't want to be pigeonholed. And same with on my YouTube or on my Instagram. I've got jump rope in my bio, but I don't really want to be labeled. I don't want, in 4 months' time, I might drift away from jump rope, and jump rope might be more of a side thing rather than the main focus of the channel. But when you start doing something, like for me, it's like a genre of music. For me to post something like more rocky or indie music, it's going to be a lot more jarring for the audience that's following you for reggae and drum and bass. So I try to keep that mixed up, because I want to be able to still be able to be creative. Like tomorrow's video, I'm doing a complete 180 and posting a Bollywood guess who, just because I was like listening to Gary Vee, and I never really used to like listen to him, but recently I just started listening to some of his podcasts and stuff, and he was saying about like make one for you and one for them, or one for them, one for you. That really resonated. So more so on the YouTube side, but it definitely carries over on Instagram.
I feel like though the way that can play out is like I really firmly believe that you can find a sweet spot between the one for them and for you. So for example, for me, like I don't like to do shuffling. That's not my preferred way of jump roping.
What, really?
But yeah, but I do like, at least, I mean, maybe this will change in the future, but like as of right now, like I'm very aware that in the world, dance is really popular. And so shuffling goes under dance. So if you do dance and then you add jump rope to that, which is what a lot of people are doing, you will pop off because people like that, right? I don't enjoy that. It's just not fun for me to do. It's not fun for me necessarily to watch at the moment. So I don't dig that. But if you look at all the different variables that work, dance, a very close second to dance, is music. And then we know in jumper people love slow motion. Like it's fun to watch something slow mo so that A, you can see what's happening, and B,
yeah,
it's just really cool when you time that with music. And like I not only love watching that, especially with high level skills, but I like making it. I like taking slow motion video, and I like the process of choosing a song and putting a routine to it and making that whole thing, because it's fun for me. And I like being in the editing suite in Premiere, chopping it up and doing what I want with that. So like you can see right there slow-mo and music, not necessarily dance, but you can definitely add a rhythm piece that's not shuffling, that still works for that if you wanted to do that. We've now
Yeah.
picked those 2 or 3 elements that are architected to do well for likes and views, right? Which AKA means spreading wider and grabbing more. In my case, it means that I'm grabbing more people who would have otherwise not seen me, which means ultimately my information might reach them and make things better for them. Other people will architect things in order to get more attention, whether that's for, and we talked about this in the last one, but whether that's for insecurity reasons or for financial reasons, whatever. But like, you know what I'm saying? So now there's this middle ground of like, okay, cool. Well, I did the thing that I always say that, and you can't say do the thing. That's the jump rope
Jump rope
thing.
are all over you.
Yeah, right. Now they're cool about it. But it's just funny because like there's just like a double meaning, you know. But like so I've identified the things that get trending or get more views, right? And I've then matched that with the things I like to do. Right. I think that there's definitely a little bit of serendipity with the fact that I like doing the thing that works out well. Like I enjoy editing. I enjoy being in a computer. I enjoy seeking out new music. Right. Some other folks might not enjoy that, but this is the same thing as like if you take a slow-mo video and then you change up where the slow-mo happens and you post it in Reels and choose your song. Same thing.
Yeah.
But mine is just exactly. I personally enjoy complicating things and using bigger cameras just for the sake of my own fun, even though I know most people can't. Yeah, like most people can't really see the actual difference in the end, but it's still fun to do. So, yeah, dude, that I feel like, yeah, but I think you just keep doing whatever you want to do and have fun, and then like you're like, oh, that was fun, and then you're like, oh, I can do this over here, but a little differently, but it still works, you know.
Like certainly recently in the summer, everything's lovely because it's light in the evenings, and you know you're a lot more. It's warm outside. Jumping outside is nice and fun. But yeah, kind of that like you know there was a Spotify Unwrapped kind of thing last week or something. I think this year I've listened to over 100,000 minutes of Spotify and 1,700 new eyes. Yeah, so that's like that part of it, and this is what I kind of already known. Is that's where you know, the music side is the most important thing. So everything I do is to music and to the beat. But what I found myself doing is I'm not happy with that song. Let me find another song that's the same BPM, and that is where things go wrong because then it's like, well, I'm second guessing my own creativity to shape it in a way to an audience that actually I don't even want to target. So it's kind of bringing things almost back to the start of lockdown and go, right, I'm just going to learn some new skills. And that's why I started doing the lives where I'm like just asking people to pick a combo and let's just learn a combo because it keeps things creative and it keeps things flowing.
And you enjoy doing it. You don't enjoy the process of like trying to find the perfect song because you never will, but you do enjoy the process of going through and learning a new skill.
Well, that's the thing. I don't really listen to. So the way I have it is I listen to quite a large range of music, and I'll just be like walking, and I'll be like, I'll change my pace of my walk depending on the song, and I'll be effectively like doing a combo whilst walking to my steps. So the step is like a shuffle. So I'll walk fast, I'll walk slower, and I'll be like, oh, that feels kind of nice. Or it might be like, oh, I know the perfect combo for that, but my body is not there yet. Or in the case of some videos, like the one that got shared by Gymshark, that was in my playlist for 2 months. And I knew in my head that I wanted this sequence to work with cross straddles, but I wasn't able to do them quick enough yet. So every now and then I'd just put the song back on, practice it a little bit. And that was really fun. It was just like the process of just knocking out a combo. And it was, you know, it was nothing about, it was just about upping my own personal skill.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that it worked out well because you came at it with good intentions. I think, honestly, man, TLDR is like, if you don't have a very specific large mission goal or business goal, then you don't need to worry about the details. You know what I mean? You need to worry about having fun. And if you have fun challenging yourself this way, then that counts, you know?
Yeah.
But it's always about backing up and I don't mean like you as in like you, Bav, but just the proverbial you, like anyone who's listening. Like, it's just understanding why you are on the digital platform and why you are creating it. And it literally can be as simple as, I want to challenge myself. I want to try to make this. That works, right? But then if that is your goal, do not get hung up in judging yourself based off of the vanity metrics, because they're irrelevant,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
And the same with like putting out tutorials and things like that, because as I was saying on the live yesterday, you do get asked quite a lot once you get to a certain, like, people do just, they see what you're doing and like, oh, I want you to tell me how to do that, um, which is nice. It's really nice that people um, want to get my perspective on how to learn something, but at the same time, I don't want to be able to be like kind of pigeonholed into, like, I'm going to put out a tutorial. And that's why I got into that stage where I was like, oh, I'm going to challenge myself to put out a tutorial every 2 weeks, right? On only until I've run out of things. So I was going to do shuffle, double unders, just like EBs and stuff. So I did a few. Got to a point, it's like, actually, I've run out of things, and that's fine. That's fine. I don't need to make up stuff to like teach people. If I'll teach people stuff that I know as and when I know it, but it was that kind of, again, putting the pressure, and I think it's just it's another way of challenging yourself and to keep leveling up. And that's the other thing. You can't level up forever. You need to have a plateau,
Hmm.
and
No,
that's
for
okay.
sure. Yeah, and you need to, it's the constant thread is like, you need to know what you're about. Not, again, not the bad you, but just the proverbial you. Like whoever you are when you're posting, you need to know why you're there and what you're doing there. And if you don't, you will get sucked into the vanity metrics, because those are the most prevalent pieces of the platforms, right? So, but you're right about everyone hits a plateau. You're completely right about that. That is very real. I do kind of want to like, because we've been jamming super hard and I'm digging this. I kind of want to back everything up and go the context route. When did you first pick up a jump rope, and where and when did you pick up a jump rope for the first time?
So I picked it up. Let me just get the. So I picked a jump rope up for the first time on the 24th of
I
March
love that
this
you
year.
just picked the exact date. That was amazing.
Yeah, 24th of March.
You never used a
Um,
jump rope before then?
Never. The one
You
I
gotta be
had
kidding
that.
me. Are you serious?
Not joking.
Oh my
Yeah, not
god.
joking. I
Oh my gosh,
I
dude, that's crazy.
I had this. I bought a jump rope. I probably bought it 8 9 years ago. It was a Nike, like fitness, rope with a bearing in it, kind of thick cord. And I never opened it. And I just, from place to place when I was moving, it kind of went with me because it wasn't big enough to get in the way. It just tucked in a drawer. And it was only when it was in lockdown, and I think I don't actually know what drove me to pick it up, but I remember watching. I think I came across. No, I think I picked up the rope, and then I was like, oh, I don't know how long it should be. So I went online and got saw some tutorials of how long your rope should be and stuff like that. And then I found a video, I think a vlog of someone, and then met up with Nick and Kaylee Woodard in like a uh, like disused swimming pool or something. And it was the first time I'd seen like someone doing a flip, and it was all in lovely slow motion. So it was like, oh, that's amazing. Um, and then so I was just doing like I couldn't even do a couple of bounces without tripping, like at all. And I didn't know anything about crosses or anything like that. And then I saw, and someone sent me a video of Jimmy, and I was like, this I can get behind. Because it's like, how is the rope just going above his head? I don't understand. But it just looked so clean and polished. I was like, this, and it just looked cool. Like it wasn't like a it was kind of on the brink of being attainable because it wasn't like there was no flips involved, right? So that immediately makes it like, oh, it's cool, but it's also a little bit attainable. Um, and then yeah, and I was just kind of, by that time I kind of discovered I started putting stuff on my stories, on my Instagram stories to begin with, because it was just my personal account. And then after a while, I just posted something on as a post, and then from there it kind of snowballed. And I think it was good because a lot of other people were starting at the same time as well.
That's pretty interesting. So you just kind of, yeah, you kind of got in the community and you just kind of went with what you were saying. That
mm,
makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's very common for a lot of people, especially of the lockdown generation. People getting into it, and it's really cool. See, this is like this has been my thought for a long time. I've had this thought for a long time that people who pick up jump rope as an adult are still going to be able to do a lot, like a very high level of jumping, or to figure out a very large majority of competitive jump rope skills, right? Because for the longest time, I used to think, no, if you don't start in competitive jump rope, you will never be able to do most of those skills. And obviously now, for a while, I've not felt that way at all, right? And you're a great testament to that being, you can, if you have the right, if you have the right information that actually helps you move forward, you will move forward, period. Right.
Yes.
And yeah, that's so cool, man. It's honestly amazing how much progress you've made in such a very, very, very short period of time. Yeah, because it's
just being disciplined.
Yeah, it's being disciplined and staying after, but I think also you have something that some others might have a hard time with. Is for you, it's like, yeah, I messed up, but I'm going to keep going. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep going, right? I'm sure there's frustrating days that you've had, but like, I think some folks, when you aren't exposed to context, when you don't spend the time to see what's possible or see other folks jumping, which a lot of times can be difficult depending on who introduces you to the sport, you can just think that like, oh, well, this is like, I'm just not good enough, so I'm going to stop trying.
And there's also different, like the notion of messing up. There's messing up is its own spectrum, right? So it's how you look at it. So the way I look at it is, I'll mess up, but sometimes I'll mess up differently. And so there's learning in that. So an example might be, I don't know, mic releases. For the longest time, I just could not get the rope to do what I wanted to. But then I was like, okay, if I just be consistent with one thing, so break the skill down and just be consistent with my hand. And I'm just going to put my hand there and I'm just going to move this other hand till the rope kind of hits, and I'll do that way. That was entirely messing up. Yeah, it was entirely messing up. And that's one of those ones where it's kind of controlled messing up. Does that make sense?
No, this is exactly what I talk about a lot with people, is this idea of completion versus efficiency training. What you did naturally, I'm assuming naturally, was start to do efficiency training rather than only doing completion training, or both. Most people try to do a skill for the first time and do it well. And what tends
this comes from yoga though. So I've done a bit of yoga, and that is all about, you're not going to be able to do like the perfect shape, for example, first time. It's not, but it's a process. So that's that kind of, that mentality that you've got to go through the gears. You're not going to land a perfect double if you can't get your perfect single under effectively.
Well, yeah, and it's also not necessarily linear too. Like, and this is why, yeah, when I say completion versus efficiency training, it's so important, because you can go attack skills just to get them done for the first time to see how they feel. And you can do that across a wide breadth of skills. But then you can choose then to go deeper and adjust the things that aren't working. Efficiency, which means you don't care if you miss the skill. You just care that you made some type of improvement. In your case for the mic, you didn't care that you made the mic happen. Like you said, it didn't work, but you made one small adjustment that did. And this is something that I think a lot of people miss. This is obviously, as you're about to find out, like in my course, I speak about this a lot. It's one of the fundamental things that I coach, which is like, you gotta seriously understand that you're not supposed to go out and get a skill and do it well for the first time in the same session, right? And it's totally okay to completely miss a skill over and over and over if you're improving something. But most people, I think, yeah, you have the benefit of having done yoga and you have the knowledge of how to adjust smaller portions of your body to improve the greater whole, right? But I think a lot of folks don't. And so it's a lot harder. And this is, I think a lot of times what can be kind of tough in the online world is when some people are making tutorials and stuff that are kind of focused on like a quick get, right? Like a quick tip to work out, or just to get the skill for the first time. You miss this piece of the discussion, which is how to change some of the nuanced types of it, to nuanced mechanics of the skill to improve it and improve it long term so you can continue to scale up, right? And I think I think a lot of folks interpret that as like, oh, well, you're just complicating everything and making it harder and more detailed. And it's like, not really. It's, it's like, but to be fair, a lot of people they just want to get out there and get jumping, right? They just want to get started.
Mm.
But then a lot of times what happens is what you described is just being at this wall on a skill and being like, I cannot figure this out.
Well, so when people ask me like, oh, how do you do switch crosses, continuous switch crosses? And I'm like, well, you need to do alternate crosses like wherever you want. So right over left, left over left, left over right, and then just keep going. Pick one as you're in the middle of a cross to change hands, and then just do that. So you're completely comfortable. That's where I lose the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
They're like, what? No. I want the switch cross. I know how to cross. I don't want to cross. I'm like, well, you need to be able to cross to do the switch cross. And it's like because I actually was able to do a TS before I could do EBs, because I tried EBs.
That's interesting.
Do it, and then I was like, right, I want to get this TS. And obviously the TS is, in my mind, just two EBs, right? Two backwards EB placements. So
that's an interesting way to think about it, actually. Well, I usually just think of it as a cross, like in front of your body, but behind it.
Yeah, that's the way I was learning it. But it was because you're using both, in my mind, you're behind the back arm placements times two, but you're moving both your wrists to get that rope round. So then when I went back to revisit the EB, I was like, what? My wrists are already used to doing this turning motion behind my back. That's not what most people that I've come across actually want. That want to get out of their version of the sport, because that's the thing. Everyone has their own version of the sport.
Correct.
That they want to get out of.
Everyone's got a different goal.
Worth reminding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why like my tutorials and stuff like that I do are better suited for YouTube, where I can waffle for 7-8 minutes, and only people who really want to listen to the waffle can listen to it. But if you want the quick unlock, there's other ways of doing it. Same as like with your course. Like I know from seeing the first bits of it today that I'm gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah, really this is also this is a cool time to do this podcast too, because it's like this will be fun for us to like listen to in 8 weeks or 12 weeks time after everything is said and done, and you'll be like, oh, that I see how my thoughts or opinions have stayed the same or changed. It'll be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's keep digging into your jump roping, right? Your jump rope journey. I kind of want to know. So you picked it up earlier this year, right? What was your initial training schedule like? And I'm curious if it has changed or stayed the same over these months.
You know what? I never had a training schedule. I used it. So this is going to sound funny. When I was like furloughed at the start of lockdown, so I was like, right, this is the opportunity that I've got. I'm just going to live the life of a content creator. So, and it's something that got me up in the morning. So I'd get up, I would make some breakfast, I would jump rope for 2 hours to music. I started doing a playlist, and I would literally jump on my balcony, which is where my good form comes from, because I didn't have the space physically.
Yeah, that's the best motivator.
Yeah, it was great. And so I would jump for 2 hours, and then that was it. I never really thought about it, and I would just do bounce, like just skipping, and just do like a bit of footwork. But it was only just me just vibing to the music. At that point, I had no outside input into footwork or anything like that, which is hilarious now looking back, because it's like, well done for just getting up and doing it.
Yeah.
Because normally I would have been like, if anyone would have said to me in February, for example, oh, maybe you should pick up a jump rope, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid. I'm not going to pick up a jump rope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. So no specific way. And has it changed? Yes, it changed a lot. Because at the beginning it was kind of, I was just on the balcony, and then from there it became like more music based, and then it was like, oh, I've got some more gear, so I'll put more into the production value, and then it became slowly less about actually fitness and form, and more about getting that combo. And because I was never trained in any kind of move, I would just do it till failure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just because I was lucky in a sense, because I was on the balcony a lot of the time, I didn't have the space. So I also didn't have the space to form bad habits. So that is what kind of kept things in check. Um, and then yeah, but no kind of structured thing. Like never like, oh, I'm gonna do, I don't know, 10 double unders. It was
Mm-hmm.
quite late till I did a double under. It didn't interest me. It wasn't,
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Do you feel like the jump rope has helped you with anything? Whether it's and you can take this literally any way you want to take it. I'm just curious if it's helped you with anything.
Yeah, it's definitely helped me come out of my shell.
Hmm.
And well, post online. That's quite a big daunting thing for anyone to do. Um, yeah, confidence. It's kept my brain ticking over. It's like you look at like a skill or a move and you kind of dissect it. And it's kind of similar to, so I'm an engineer by trade. So in my instance, I was a manufacturing engineer. So I'd have a customer would give me a drawing and I would have to basically make the thing. And jump rope to me is very similar. It's like, oh, I want to get I don't know, a bit release or an EB. And I know that I'm not just going to get there. I need to build all the little bits and bobs. So that it's that kind of keeping things interesting, but also being hard enough to keep me interesting, but accessible enough not to put me off. So it's that
Mm-hmm.
very fine balance. Because if it was any harder, it'd be like, nah, there's no point in doing it because I'm never going to get anywhere.
That's literally the definition of flow state, right? Like
Right.
literally the definition of like challenging, so it's engaging, but not so challenging that you literally, like you said, will never be able to do it. What do you mean by
Yeah.
what do you mean by building up confidence? How did it build up confidence?
Um, I think it's just doing something. So like, when a lot of times you're kind of doubting yourself with in work and in stuff with what decisions you're making and stuff like that, and that can obviously compound your confidence. Whereas when you get a move with a jump rope, you've got the move. There's no ifs or buts. You've got it. And then when you get it again, it's like I've just done that move twice, and I just did that. I put the work in and I got it twice. And then after a while, you're like, okay, you get the confidence to try. I'm going to do it on the other side. It's like, well, I can do that now. I can do that, and that's the compound effect of that. Is now it's like, oh, I can do a mick release. And I was talking to Chris, and he was like, I want to see you do a mick into a double under. So I did that, and then it was like incrementally the confidence is more building, and it might be more like physical confidence of like knowing what my body's able to do, and I think that rubs off.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of like what I like to say is, jump rope is interesting because there's always something for you to be proud of. If you've taken one single under jump, there is always something to be proud of, and there is always something to move towards, or something to try to learn next.
Yeah, and that hasn't changed actually. That
And it,
thirst
and
for
it
learning.
never will.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of hoping. But I typically have I've got quite an addictive personality, and normally I have like a 9 month span. So
Gotcha.
I did yoga for yeah, just over 9 months. I think that was 10 months, and then obviously COVID happened, so I had to put a stop to that because they closed. But jump rope, we're getting up to like eight months now. So,
We're rounding the corner.
but
Well,
but
I should be
the
able to.
difference is,
I think I can pull you past that 9 month, because if you're at 8 and you just started the course, that's at least going to get you to 10.
yeah. But what's happening now is I'm like when I was younger, it was like you'd pick up something up and then drop it. What's happening now is I pick something up, I leave it dormant, even if it's for a little while, or it's like on the back burner. But then the next thing that I'm doing is actually tied in. So you're not stopping and then starting from scratch again. You're building on each kind of niche interest that you have to kind of compound the rest. So, for example, like a previous obsession was camera gear, and obviously camera stuff is
Oh,
helping
yeah.
do what
Tell
I
me
do now.
about it.
So,
Tell me about it, dude. That makes a lot of sense. I feel 100% what you're saying. I think this is such a valuable, everything you've shared is just so good, man. Like, this is so cool to chop it up and kind of get more of a picture for where you've been with jump rope. I want to keep going a little outside of jump rope. Engineering. Why did you pursue engineering, and when was kind of the kickoff of going into that field?
so I think, well, my dad's an engineer. My granddad's an engineer, so I come from a long line of
Nice.
engineers. So it's
Hmm.
always so my brain is hardwired to be practical. In fact, fun fact, I did a study for a friend who was doing neuroscience, and um, she was saying that my brain, the part of the brain that does coordination and stuff, is abnormally large in my brain. Which is, that was a scientist that told me that. So
That's
it's
cool.
got to be
So
true.
it's got to be true. Yeah. That would be,
But yeah,
that'd be kind of cool to like do that with a bunch of jump ropers and see like, or like have like people who just started jump roping and then like rescan it like a year later and see how that would change. That'd be super sick.
yeah. Well, I've actually still got that scan. So I'm hopefully if I need to have a scan in the future, I'll have a brain scan from when I was
That's so
23
cool.
or something. But yeah, so I was I did accountancy first because I was like, right, I'm gonna do accountancy. I'm gonna make the big bucks, and then that's as far as I've looked. So did that,
Hmm.
failed that for a year, and then did an apprenticeship at my dad's company. So a small engineering company, a couple of people working there. Did an apprenticeship, and then kind of just worked in places, and then it just seemed like
Do you
the
like it?
natural kind of progression. Um, yeah, I actually love it. Now I'm not actually doing the making anymore. So now I work in sales
Hmm.
as an area sales manager for cutting tools.
Hmm.
So I still get to geek out and completely just absolutely geek out with customers talking about tooling and different materials and how to cut different materials and things like that. So it's something that it's easy to talk about something and like what you're doing if you're genuinely interested in it because
Hmm.
it's not taxing to learn. It's like if you force someone to learn jump rope, they're not going to learn it. Whereas
Right.
if they naturally come about it, then it's like, oh, brilliant, I'm working on my own thing. And it's a similar thing with engineering. And I was quite keen to learn it. So my tutors gave me more information because I was like, give me more information. I want to learn it. And they were like, well, no one else wants to learn, so we're going to give you all the information.
Hmm.
And then that was great as well. But yeah, I absolutely just love making things and dissecting things
Yeah, I was gonna say you like
figuratively.
pieces and seeing how the different parts create a whole, which explains a
Yeah,
lot as to, or at least that seems to be the consistency of our conversation and the ones that we've had in the past is like breaking it down and seeing how the things fit together so that you can then build either that thing better or something new or whatever. And it makes a lot of sense that as an engineer mindset, you would move in the direction of picking up jump rope, you know?
yeah. Because it's like I would get a drawing, so you've got to look at so the overall material size that you need to cover the job that you need to make. Then you've got to figure out what side should I machine first, and then how you're going to hold it So you've almost got to forward plan all your steps and then go backwards, and then you've got to figure out whether that's the correct way
Mm-hmm.
to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like combo building.
Yeah, it
There's stuff,
is. That's
you can put things,
yep.
I could do side A, side B, and then side C, or I could do, and it would still work the same as doing side A, C, B, but actually it might be better. And I suppose for jump rope, it would be it'd flow better. But in engineering terms, it might just be a time saving, or a process might be actually, again, flow.
That is, dude, you're 100% right. And that is literally, especially in the competitive world, that's how things are really, that's how people tend to view their routines for competition, right? That's how I made mine. Like when I made my routines, I made an entire list and you have one session or season or whatever of like creating something brand new or someone tells you what to do or whatever. Maybe there's a pre-existing routine that you have to do on the team or whatever. But the point is you have this first point of a foundational routine created. And then from there, it's very modular. There's certain pieces that you know, swap out with different skills or increase by making doubles to triples to quads, or you take the same piece, but you move it around in the sequence. And so you're 100% right. Like that's exactly how it goes. And, you know, a lot of the extraordinarily talented jumpers also are engineers or have an engineering mindset or like so for example, first the people that pop into mind, Lee Reisig, Stuart Isaacs, Dylan Plummer, right? um all so Lee engineer, Stuart, engineer, but like MIT, like
Oh yeah, MIT.
astronautics,
Yeah,
and you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
crazy.
And then
Yeah, yeah.
and then Dylan Plummer also like extremely high level computer programming, right? Computer scientist, you know. So you've got these three dudes that are phenomenal. And Lee created this whole system, the jump vet and the Trictionary, the first round of that. Other people have created Trictionaries that are, you know, similar or a little different, but like the one that Lee created literally mapped out every single placement you can do for a cross ever, you know? And I think you definitely need a little bit more of that engineering mindset to fully unpack it. But it's there and it exists, right? And
I
I
think it's also like just to sorry to interrupt, like programming, right? So well, I remember when I first started talking to Chris, and he was like, right, this will look really good. So like open, and he said cross, and I was like, what does cross mean? And obviously now I know that's like maintaining in that cross.
yeah, yeah.
um, but it's very similar to engineering, where you'll be. So for my example would be programming industrial machinery to cut metal. So you'd put in codes, right? So codes and coordinates. And I think engineers are kind of used to having talking or conversing in with as few like words as possible.
Yes. No, 100%.
And jump rope is like that. You know, I'm sure like you can have a conversation with Chris and you're like just talking in letters.
Yes. That's well,
Like
so yeah, no, so here's the interesting thing. Yeah, like I pretty much always, and even on the you know, Netflix, the combo website, all of the multiple under things are, I've stated them as, you know, SC, you know, SOO, whatever, that kind of thing. And what Lee did, which is so amazing, is he took all of that language and he basically created a new jump rope language that was inclusive of everything that you could do with a jump rope, and it had certain grammatical rules around it. But I think that because most people, I mean, it's difficult when you have a layer of abstraction, right? Which is why programming is difficult for a lot of people. Like especially if you do low level programming, it's hard to understand what certain things mean and why you are doing things the way you're doing them, right? HTML, pretty straightforward. C or C plus, the whole other ball game, right? And so kind of what Lee did is he took all these rules and then turned it into basically, you know, I could sit here and write out like a paragraph of what a sequence is, and then Lee turned that into like 10 characters, right? Which is pretty phenomenal. It's a bit,
wow,
it's a
yeah.
bit hard for me. It's a little bit hard to kind of like follow, or just remember the rules. But then again, it's the same thing as any language learning, right? Like if I spent the time to learn a language, the same way I wanted to learn whatever other, you know, Spanish, French, whatever, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Dude,
Oh no,
this
for sure.
this is so good, dude. Like I knew we were gonna have a good time, and like literally an hour just like
Wow.
it went by fast. It went by very, very, very fast, dude. You know, I kind of want to, you know, I want to ask you the last question of the podcast, but like I know that we could keep going for like probably 5 more hours easily. Like if we just hit the throttle, like we'll just keep going pretty much forever. You know, I think yeah, but I think this is a good time to kind of work towards wrapping up. What the last question of the podcast. What is jump rope to you?
Uh, so yeah, I think it's the same as when we were doing our that live. I think it's that scratching that itch of like knowledge, like building and learning. So it's it keeps my mind occupied. Uh, I can't really narrow it down to one thing because it's almost like the centerpiece of 2020.
Hmm.
But like a good 2020.
Yeah,
So
the good part
it's
of
not
it.
like yeah. And the thing is, I'll be able to look back on this fondly, and it'll be like, oh, what did you do in 2020? Well, actually, I learned a skill. I learned something that I would never ever have learned before, and it's kind of it's like, well, what else in life could I learn that I don't know that I'm going to learn yet? So it's
Hmm.
kind of it runs deep.
It
But it's kind of
proves that you can then attack a new skill if you chose to.
Yeah. So yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, that's
I
just
just absolutely love it.
the simple pull quote right there. I just love it. That's it, dude.
Yeah, I just love it. It's just, yeah, it's
It's like
perfect.
the Nike just do it. It's like the jump rope. I just love it.
Yeah, it's accessible. You
It
don't
make,
need to have membership.
yeah,
It's accessible. Anyone can do it. You can teach anyone. You can explain it to everyone. It's not elitist. It's not. You can either. It's fantastic. I advocate everyone at least giving it a go.
yeah,
I don't need to tell this audience because
right.
they're already sipping the Kool-Aid. But
Yeah, right. But go tell everyone that you know who's not jump roping and get them to do it. That's all I'm saying. Like,
yeah, if they'll listen to you anymore, because most of my friends who no, they won't listen to me at all now. They're like, oh,
yeah.
he's probably going to just yap on about jump rope again.
Yeah, I usually keep that pretty specific to people that jump rope as well for the exact same reason. And then like
Yeah,
like
exactly.
everyone gets known, like no matter who you are, you're just known as like the jump rope guy, or jump rope gal, depending on, guy or gal. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's funny, man. Dude, thank you for taking this time again to do this. This has been, I know our first one was fun, but this was cool to kind of dig into a little bit of the Bav history and kind of get
Nice.
a more rounded out picture to like who you are and like where you've come from. So
Nice.
yeah, dude, thanks for taking the time. This has been really
Thanks for having me.
cool. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll definitely
Loved it.
be catching up with you, and then I'm sure at some point there's gonna be a round 3 or another surprise live or something coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
What up? It's Nate. Real quick, before you go, one last thing that I would like to honestly ask of you. If you could send this off to someone that you know, or that someone that you know who jump ropes, who doesn't know about the podcast, or who does know about the podcast, any of it. If you could send this to someone, it would help tremendously, because one of my biggest goals with this podcast is to help promote the sport of jump rope to all people. And so you sending this off to someone would really be helpful, especially because, as I just talked about with Bav, really this is a tool that anyone can use and a lot of people should know about, because there's so many benefits that they can get from such a simple tool like the jump rope. So yeah, if you could really send this off to someone, that'd be amazing. If you can't, that's cool too, but it's not as cool as sending it off to someone. Okay. All right. I'm done. I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, night, evening, lunch, whatever's going on for you right now. See you later.